This is Brother Johnny of Groove 19 Promotions out of Manning, South Carolina. Again, sincerely thanking everyone for tuning in to this installment of the 19 Report. Today, as promised, we would be coming back to you with commentary about Invisible Black. Again, this is Black History Month, and what better time to talk about blackness than doing Black History Month. Now, I want to caution everyone today. First of all, I want to thank everyone for sharing the commentary on last week. According to the analytics, you really blessed me and blessed the program by your constant sharing of the information. And I certainly and sincerely thank all of you for that. If you would like to join us, you can join us live, and you can let other people know that they can join us live on Twitter at Groove 19. That's capital GRUV 19, Groove 19. And you can listen to the show live on Twitter as it is streaming live on Twitter, the audio as well as the video. If you would like to watch us live, you can watch us on our personal website. That is the 19 Report. You just type the 19 Report into your search engine, and we have pretty high rankings. So you can go right to our personal webpage and look under the Community of Concerned Citizens, which is the top page, and you'll be able to catch us live on the air as we are broadcasting today. Again, you can also catch us on Google. And I would ask that those of you who listen to us on Google Plus to please join our circle, the 19 Report, or Johnny Wilson or Brother Johnny, so that when we begin to have call-in episodes, you can call in and you can be broadcast live on the air. Now, I want to get right into it today because today, like I said, I caution you that I will be saying some things. They're not profane, but they are just contrary to what we believe. I want to go directly into it. Now, as I stated, I wanted to thank everyone again for all of your posting of part one. And I sincerely hope and pray that by God's permission, my words are getting a little bit easier to swallow. But it is really me that is on trial. It's me that's on trial. I don't want people thinking that I am casting judgment out on everybody else, saying you're going to hell, you're going to hell. Well, we all already in hell. But it is me that's on trial because how do you treat God's chosen people? Do you talk to them? Do you talk through them? Do you talk at them, trying to prove just how much you know or how much you think you know? To me, ministry is one of the most difficult jobs that you can take on besides parenting or teaching, because this is not a job that you take lightly. Now, God made it plain to me that he wants his message plain to his people and to all people, particularly in South Carolina. We are under vicious attacks here because the awareness of God is limited. Even with all of the religious institutions and all of the great things that the members of these institutions have accomplished, coming out of the world is not one of those accomplishments. I'm going to say that again. As I said earlier, some of the things that I say today are going to cut deep, but I'm praying that God will give me permission to say them correctly so that they won't be so offensive that we don't listen. Because I'm listening too. Now, even with all of the religious institutions and all of the greatness that the members of these institutions have accomplished, coming out of the world is not one of those accomplishments. Everything that is achieved is based on worldly rules. You have to do this and this in order to get this. And while worldly rules apply to worldly things, God's rules apply to all things, for he is the Lord of all the worlds and master of this day and every single biblical, Quranic, religious scripture day of judgment. God has a name, and his name is not Jesus Christ. Although Jesus is the spiritual Son of God, he is not, nor did he ever say he was God. We are talking about Invisible Black. And I want to go in on the elders. And at the same time that I'm talking about the elders, I'm talking about those in my age group as well. But I want to go in on the elders, and I want to point out by God's permission where we are, the time we are in, what must be done in the time, and the allegorical, or some may say mythical, stories of biblical texts. I believe that the stories are beneficial. And I have been blessed by God's permission to understand some of it. And I want to share that with us today. We are talking about Invisible Black. It is Black History Month, and I have not seen so much blackness this time on Facebook or any of the social medias. Unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of naked black and party black, but not black black. So we are going into this. Now, Jesus never said that he was God. He said that we can get to God through him and by his example. Now to the older generation. The older generation can get away with thinking that Jesus is God. If you are 50, if you are 60 or above, God has allowed your confusion to be forgiven because many of you are still wandering in the desert and in fear and in doubt. I'm going to say that again. To the older generation in your 50s and 60s or above that, God has allowed the confusion in our minds to be forgiven because many of us are still wandering in that same desert mentioned in the Bible, that desert of fear and that desert of doubt. Now, financially, we are very successful, but still afraid of Caucasians and still doubtful if God really exists. And I'm going to prove it in a minute. Now, I'm talking about those 50 and up. Now, I'm in the 40 to 50 range. I'm 45. So we don't get a pass. We don't get a pass on the confusion of religion, the confusion of Bible, the confusion of Quran. God does not give us a pass because we grew up in an era of a technological boom, and any information we want to know about, we can search for it and get pretty accurate answers. Calling Jesus Christ God, looking for an image or an idol or some tangible proof that God is real, proves that we are still in doubt. So the Satan of this world obliged our request and gave us pictures and he gave us statues to worship, but none of them are God. Nowhere in scripture does it say that Jesus Christ is God. Now to the older ones, we're talking about Invisible Black, and I'm showing you by God's permission how we began to disappear and why we began to disappear and the dire time that we are in now, because the attack on our disappearance is at its all-time high. And I'm going to prove that as we talked on last week about the disappearance of blackness. On this week, part 2, death by entertainment, the strategies to erase a race. Now, the older ones really had little faith in the new God that Moses was introducing to them. We're talking about the children of Israel in the Bible, God raising Moses to go to Egypt to get the children of Israel, and their ungrateful attitude towards God and what God did to them. And we're going to juxtapose that again. We're going to put that side by side with 2015. And I'm going to show you by God's permission how we're disappearing, why we're disappearing, how powerful Satan is, and why we can identify Satan, and why we think we are out of the world when in actuality we're going deeper into it. Now, the older ones really had little faith in the new God that Moses was introducing to them. They did not want to leave Pharaoh. Does that sound familiar? Moses' job was to reacquaint the children of Israel, black people, with the only true God force there ever was and ever will be. I have to make this very clear. God is Alpha and Omega. He is the beginning and end of all things. You can call him Allah. You can call him El Shaddai. You can call him Elohim. You can call him I Am. You can call him I Am that I am. You can call him 99 different names that attribute to all of his abilities. But he is only one God. So it is not your Jesus and my Allah. It is not my Allah and your Moses. God does not clash with himself. The only person that clashes with God is a devil. We're talking about Invisible Black. Now, God is Alpha and Omega, but the older ones did not want to leave Pharaoh or his idea of what God or who God is and was. And once Moses convinced them to leave Pharaoh, they fell into doubt and made what? A golden calf. Does that sound familiar? When they were ordered to fight, they refused God And as a result of their refusal, all of the old ones had to die because they refused to sacrifice their life for God's promise. Now, as I stated, 50 and up, it is very difficult to get them to change their ways in accordance to how white people introduced us to religion. So everything is whitewashed. Everything is white. You have a church full of black people, and when they mention God, you envision in your mind. When they mention Jesus, you envision in your mind a white man. God is angry about this because if there is any blackness in God, and there is because he came out of blackness, then that blackness is disappearing. Now, I want to take you into the book of Numbers, and I had to try my best to narrow this down because all of it was such good information. But I want to take you into the book of Numbers. And in the book of Numbers, from verses 14 to 35, I'm going to give you a minute to get there. We're in the book of Numbers, verses 14 through 35 of the New International Version of the Bible. And I'm going to read this verbatim. We're talking about invisible black. And we're talking about the spiritual connection with black people and God, and how that lifeline, that umbilical cord has been cut, and how we are gradually dying and fading into something else unrecognizable. But we are so convinced that we are right about everything, we will not listen to Moses coming and teaching us the true truth about God and the time in which we live. And we're talking about entertained to death. And I have a few little clips I want to show you later. So please stay tuned and continue to share this information. Now let's go into Numbers 14 and 35 of the New International Version of the Bible. And I'm going to read this verbatim. I have to. Then all of the congregation raised a now. This is after spies were sent into the land, after God promised Moses and the children of Israel the promised land. And spies were sent out to scout out the land ahead of them to see how far they had to go. And the spies came back and told Moses and Aaron and the children of Israel, they brought some fruits with them. And they said, everything in this land is great. It's wonderful. But we're going to have confrontation with people who are larger than us, giants. Now the children of Israel, black people, don't want to fight, don't want to learn truth, don't want to tell their children the truth. We just want to survive. We just want to have things. And this is what this story of the children of Israel is about. And so let's go into this. We're at the point where the men come back and they are relaying the information. Then all of the congregation raised a loud cry, and the people wept that night. And all the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The whole congregation said to them, would that we had died in the land of Egypt. Now they're becoming ungrateful because they got to fight. They want to die in Egypt, but they don't want to fight to have a land of their own. They want to die in Egypt, but do not desire to fight for themselves for a land that God promised. See the sickness in the minds of the people? See why blackness is disappearing? Because we want to fight for the ways of this world, but we refuse to fight for a future for our children and the truth in that future. Watch the children of Israel and their ungratefulness now. Or would that we had died in the wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our children, ones will become a prey. Would it not be better for us to go back to Egypt? See, let's go back. Let's not go forward. Let's go back. The great Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, when she was bringing those slaves out of the South into the North, and her husband even wanted to turn around, or her companion, and she pulled out that gun and tell him, you're not turning around, because they'll torture you and they'll take from you the information that has to remain secret. So either you get up and you continue on, or I got to kill you right where you stand. See, and this is what our people are saying. Let's go back to Egypt. So we can't let you go back. You got to die where you are. And this is what God is saying. Check this out. And they said to one another, let us choose a leader and go back to Egypt. So the people, the black people of America, say, let us choose a leader that is Americanized and let us be a part of this, because it is too difficult to come out of this. And we don't want to die at the gun. We'd rather go back to Pharaoh and lie to our children and celebrate pagan holidays and do whatever is necessary to be a part of this world. It's right there in the Bible. Would it not be better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to one another, let us choose a new leader and go back to Egypt. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all of the assembly of the congregation of the people of Israel. And Joshua and the son of Nun and Caleb and the son of Jephunneh, who was among those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes and said to all of the congregation of people of Israel, the land which we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delights in us, he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey. Now, our parents in the 50, 60 and above taught us that we had to die and go to heaven in order to be in a land of milk and honey. But right here in the book, it is saying the land is right here on earth. And if God gives it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey, only one thing, do not rebel against the Lord, and do not fear the people of the land, for they are bread for us. See, the faithful know that all of the wickedness that's going on is all a part of God's divine plan. And the faithful know that if we are with God, then everything else is just bread. Their protection is removed from them, and the Lord is with us. See, Satan's protection is gone. Every single evil that is committed is put on the news or put on Facebook or put on YouTube or put somewhere because of technology. Remember, I told you we are in the 45 and above age group, so we can't say that we didn't know. The technology is too vastly available. So black is disappearing, but it's disappearing because we are rebelling against God. Because we are afraid to fight against the giants. So when someone comes out with knowledge and wisdom that is necessary for us to rise above this world into the knowledge of God, we say, let's choose a new leader and go back to Egypt. But check out how God feels about it. Their protection is removed from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear them. Then all of the congregation said to stone them with stones. See, put the glory of the land, the Lord, but the glory of the Lord appeared at the tent of meeting to all the people of Israel. Here you got these people, black people, who don't want to hear another black person tell them that God wants black people to do something for themselves. So the black people say, let's kill these leaders who say they are from God and choose leaders that are of this world. And then when the leaders who say they are from God begin to bring their point to the light, the people who God came to save, the children of Israel, said, let's stone them. Let's kill their thoughts, kill their minds, kill their desire to see us free, and let us get up and go back to Egypt, back into slavery. Now, I'm telling you that all of the television shows, all of these newfound musicians and singers and producers and directors have already made their mind up that they are going to stay in Egypt, and have already made their minds up that they are going to do their very best to kill the ideas of those chosen by God, and have made up their minds that they are going to lead the people into slaughter. We are talking about invisible black. And the invisibility that I am talking about by God's permission today is not just the disappearing of a body, but more importantly and more detrimental, the disappearance of our soul. And the Lord said, we're in 11 now, we're still in Numbers. And the Lord said to Moses, how long will this people despise me? Here God is talking to Moses. How can it be that I'm showing these people all of these signs of the times and what must be done, and they are angry with me for wanting to be a God to them. And how long will they not believe in me, God says to Moses, in spite of all the signs that I have done among them? See, I told you once before, by God's permission, that our children will be slaughtered in the streets of America, that our children are being gunned down wholesale. And this is nothing new that Bro.Johnny thought of. I got it from the mouth of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I am repeating what I've heard because by God's permission I see it and I believe it. But our children will continue to die because we refuse to accept the truth. So God says, in spite of all of the signs that I've done among them, how long will they continue to deny me? How long will the children have to suffer? I will strike them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and I will make of you a nation greater and mightier than they. This is what God is saying to Moses. I'm going to just kill them all because they are too ungrateful for all of the leaders, true leaders that I've sent to them. They kill them all. How do you kill them? You shoot some, you defame others, you ignore others, and you just decide you want to go to somebody else. In more cases than not, you leave the leader to speak only to himself and a few. And I'm talking about people in the same family that refuse to accept the fact that someone has been sent to make black reappear. But we have said, no, thank you. I'd rather black disappear. Check this out. We're in 13, but I got to read it, man. This is heavy. But Moses said to the Lord, then the Egyptians will hear of it. Now listen to Moses. See, this is the nature of a person that really loves the people. After God says, I'm going to kill all of them, and I'll take you and your brother and make a great nation out of you, Moses pleads once again for God to reconsider and give the children of Israel another chance. Check out how Moses puts it. He's pleading to God like a man would do. But Moses said to the Lord, then the Egyptian will hear of it. For you brought up this people in your might from among them. You brought them up. And they will tell the inhabitants of this land, they have heard that you, O Lord, are in the midst of this people. For you, O Lord, are seen face to face, and your cloud stands over them, and you go before them. Here, God is face to face. He's seen. That's what Moses is saying. And Moses is saying you go before to and fro with them in a pillar of cloud by day and in a pillar of fire by night. Now, if you kill this people as one man, then the nation who have heard your fame will say it is because the Lord was not able to bring this people into the land that he swore to give them, that he has killed them in the wilderness. See, the wicked will say, if God does not allow black people to rise up in America, Satan will say, God lied to you. He did not pick you up. And Satan believes that God has lied to us because he's permitted to do anything he wants to do to black people. And it appears that God is not defending us. But for those few who have come in contact with the reality of God, for those few who know it has nothing to do with wealth or poverty or women or things, but God disturbs the heart, the soul, the spirit so much that you can see him face to face. God has not forsaken black people, but it is not to say that he will not forsake us. We're talking about invisible black, death by entertainment. See, we are so busy being entertained by scripture that we don't see the truth in the words. Here Moses is still pleading, boy. He is on the soapbox. And now, please let the power of the Lord be great as you have promised, saying, the Lord is slow to anger and abound in steadfast love, forgiving iniquities and transgressions. Check this out. But he will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquities of the fathers in the 50 and 60 generation onto the children of the 30 and 40 generation, the youngins of today, to the third and fourth generations Please pardon the iniquity of this people according to the greatness of your steadfast love, just as you have forgiven this people from Egypt until now. Moses is praying to God. I know if you chastise this people, God, it's going to last for so many generations. Please reconsider. But Moses could have just taken his brother and gone. But he pleads the case. And in Moses pleading and praying and supplementing and lamenting to God, God's mercy taps on the shoulder of people like me and people all over the world and people all in different counties and cities who are preaching the reality of God. And we are saying, look at the book again. Check what is being said. We have to say things that most people will never say because you're going to be ostracized. But God is saying to say it. We are talking about invisible black, and we're going deep into why black is invisible and why most of the people who are trying to resurrect the black consciousness will never succeed because they leave the energy of God out of the equation. It is always I, me, my degrees, my knowledge, what I know. Give it back to God. Be grateful for his mercy. See, I can't talk nothing but God. I know. And I want you to know. It's not in singing. It's not in shouting. It's not in praising. It's not in DVDs or CDs. It's not in the movies. It's in the soul. And the soul is being destroyed, black man, black woman. This ain't got nothing to do with white folk. This ain't have nothing to do with the exception of their constant intrusion into our growth. The only intrusion we need from Caucasians is to give us 40 acres and a mule, to give us the knowledge that is necessary to constantly grow. And this is not me talking. This is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is saying. For the next 20 to 25 years, 30 years, teach us how to live. Teach us how to do what you've done with this great country called America. We're talking about invisible black, and we're talking about how the story of Moses and the Exodus from Egypt was placed in the Bible to show us firsthand what we are doing, why we are doing it, and what the consequences of it will be. See, I told you by God's permission that the Bible is a book of now, but you want to keep it a book of the past. Then the Lord said, I have pardoned according to your word. Here the God softened his heart again. I pardon him. But truly as I live, God says as he lives. So he ain't no spook. He ain't no hat, no tree, no stick. He's alive. As sure as I live, God says, and as all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord, none of the men. Check this out, 50, 60-year-olds in the church, constantly teaching our children about this white Jesus, constantly celebrating these pagan holidays, constantly doing things contrary to God to please man, and looking at our children and knowing that they're going on the wrong path, but glorify their wrong so that you can stay successful in this world. Check out what God says that he has done, will do, is going to do. None of the men who have seen my glory and my signs that I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and yet have put me to the test these 10 times, and have not obeyed my voice, none of them shall see the land that I swore to give to their fathers. And none of those who despise me shall see it. But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit and has followed me fully, I will bring into the land into which he went, and his descendants shall possess it. Now since the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwell in the valleys, turn tomorrow and set out for the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. Do you see where I'm going with this? According to the scripture, it would have taken a month and a week, a month and a half at most, for the children of Israel to conquer the land had they obeyed God and gone into the land and fought with the giants. But because the elders refused after 10 signs to listen to God, God sent them out the long route, 40 years in the desert. And in 40 years, all of those people who rebelled against God after they saw his face were dead. So the scripture says, let the old ones die out in the desert. And today, after all of the accomplishments, after all of the rankings in military, after all of the high rankings in the jobs, after all of the degrees, after all of this, the old ones die out and are never remembered. And that is why we are disappearing. So all of the blackness that got us to this point, we don't want nothing to do with. And the elite are saying it. They don't want nothing to do with it. And the elite blacks are fashioned to appeal to the young black boys, young black girls. And so they are listening more to Oprah and Steve Harvey and Tyler Perry and what's the other one named? Lee Daniels. They are listening more to LL Cool J. They're listening to Jay-Z more than they are listening to their parents. See? So they are using the old ones to appeal to the young ones and take you further away from God. We're talking about invisible black. I know, as I stated, by God's permission, this was going to be heavy, but we got to read it so you can go in the book and read it for yourself. Now, God has promised that all of you 50 and 60-year-olds, ignoring the fact that your children have a problem, going along with your children to get along. I see the young children raising the parents. I want this. I want it right now. And so you don't look like a fool in front of company, you give it to them. They're ruling the house and they are unruly. This is what God promised. We're dying. Check this out. We're in 26. And the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, how long shall this wicked congregation grumble against me? Grumbling against God. What we got to fight for? Why you telling us the truth and now we got to go all the way back around and deny all the lies that Satan told us and then come back and teach our children the truth that you, God, is telling us so that we can get them into the promised land? Hell no, God. We're going to stay with Satan. And that is what our parents and grandparents are saying they stay in. So as I said, they had to struggle through rough times here in the South in particular. They get a pass, but we don't get no pass. Maybe perhaps death for them will be easy. Dying in your sleep, dying under sedation, dying in a way that is not so painful. But death for us is murder, is slaughter, is severe pain because we know the truth and we refuse to tell our children. We would rather watch entertainment than listen to someone tell you about yourself and what must be done. Now we're in 27. How long shall this wicked congregation grumble against me? God is asking. I have heard the grumblings of the people of Israel, black people, which they grumble against me. Say to them, God is telling Moses, as I live, declares the Lord, what you have said in my hearing, I will do to you. In other words, what you want to happen to me is going to happen to you because you never learn. And as I told you in the beginning, doing the triangle trades in part 1, black people sold black people into bondage. And black people are selling black people's soul to Satan today because we know the truth, but we refuse to tell it because we want to be the one looked upon as great. So all of these elitist organizations are saying, you come with us and we'll make you giants in the land. And the giants are controlling the children today. So God says, say to them, as I live, declare the Lord, what you have said in my hearing, I will do to you. Your dead bodies shall fall in this wilderness, and all of your numbers listed in the census from 20 years old and upward, God talking, who have grumbled against me. Not one shall come into the land where I swore that I would make you dwell, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. God has said, none of you, none of us. If we refuse to tell the truth, none of us will inherit this promised land, but we think we got it. We got Mercedes now, but Mercedes is a poor man's car now. I'm sorry. BMW is a poor man's car. See, every time the elite gets something brand new, they give you the garbage. And you take the garbage as if though it's something brand new because you never had it, but they don't want it no more. So we get those same crumbs that we were talking about with the prodigal son who was eating out of the trough. with the pigs. We get that same crumb off the table and think we are great. So you can buy 12 BMWs now. They ain't nothing. If you can't buy the high-end BMW or the high-end Jaguar that once you crank the car up in your yard, you got to put more gas in it because they drink so much gas. If you can't get the Maybach, if you can't get the Ferrari, if you can't get the Bugatti, if you can't get these upscale $100,000 to $200,000, $300,000 and $400,000 cars, you driving garbage according to the elite. So stop trying to catch up with them and listen to what God is saying. You ain't in heaven because you getting the crumbs off of somebody else's table. Certainly a great house and a great home and a great yard and a nice car is a blessing from God, but not a blessing from Satan. Satan uses it in the opposite way. Satan uses it as a means of attracting us and making us deny ourselves, who we are, what we are. Satan wants us to disappear. So the new black person today is the homosexual. Gay is the new black because gays marched with Dr. King and they were marching for civil rights. Gotta say it. Now that we can no longer be civil, we don't have no rights. That's in the Constitution. I think in the 14th Amendment, where we are considered free until we commit a crime and then we are a slave again. If it's the wrong document, don't check me on that one. It's either the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, one or the other. Now let's finish this part. God said, I'm going to kill them all. They reject me, but I'm going to kill them. They're going to die right in this desert. And this is the desert. And your children shall be shepherds in the wilderness 40 years. Remember I told you about that 40? And shall suffer by your faithlessness. See, our children are suffering, angry with us, tormented by Satan inside of them, going to drugs, going to homosexuality, going to any form of entertainment that they can deal with to get away from the pain that they feel. And they are with us, but they hate us. So they listen to nothing we say. They check everything we say, and they are no longer afraid of us as parents because we lost that power when we relinquished our power to Satan for his trinkets, as in the triangle trade. Man. God is talking today. Listen now. God is going to kill all of the older ones, and then he's going to make the children suffer for 40 years for the faithlessness of the parents until the last of your dead bodies lie in the wilderness. According to the number of the days in which you spied out the land, 40 days a year for each day, you shall bear your equity for 40 years, and you shall know my displeasure. God talking. I, the Lord, have spoken. Surely this will I do to all the wicked congregations who are gathered together against me. Did he say congregation? Did you know that the word, I think it's in Hebrew or I think it's Hebrew, is congregation. They changed it from congregation to church. It is a word. So to have a church is to have a congregation. To have an assembly. Surely this will I do to all the wicked congregation who are gathered together against me. You, in this wilderness, they shall come to a full end, and there they shall die. Now, this was really my opening to this part of Invisible Black, Death by Entertainment. Now, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, but I had to really get that out because, I mean, this part came in 5 minutes before I got on the air. I had to read it. Now, we're talking about Invisible Black, and I want you to see how Satan can make things. Satan can make a person, and Satan can make an entire people disappear and reappear as something totally different. Do you know we were taught as Muslims, followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that God came looking for us, as he did with the children of Israel, came looking. And when he came to this country, he saw the black man, but that couldn't be him. That can't be the God that once was. No way. And I believe he left and came back again, had to go get more knowledge, the understanding of how to reach the ignorance in our minds, because we were made Americanized by people who hated us. We were slaves. We were brought as slaves. Africa doesn't want us because they sold us, or the place they call Africa. So if we don't start brand new by God's permission, then we are lost. So God said all of their dead bodies will be right in the desert. As I said, we are talking about invisible black, and I want you to see how Satan can make things disappear and reappear. We disappeared. The whole Egyptian civilization was buried. We disappeared and reappeared African American. And I want you to see by God's grace how Satan uses entertainment, music, false images, and success in his world as tools to capture the soul of an ignorant people. And when you are ignorant, you are a nigger. So nigger is easy for us to say, because we are ignorant to the knowledge of who we are and ignorant to the definition of what a nigger is. So after all of these years, after Minister Society, after South Central, after New Jack City, after all of these movies that influenced black boys to become thugs and gangsters, niggers, and we tried to get back on our feet, now they're coming out with Straight Outta Compton, NWA. And the white Jewish man says, what is NWA? It's that no whites allowed. And the black fella looks at him like he's confident and means niggas with attitudes. So that's us today. We the niggas with the attitudes. And the movie is right on time. And one of the greatest producers, in my opinion, Gary Gray, Gary Gray, I mean, his movies are excellent. He puts you into the story. Along with Dr. Dre and Ice Cube, all of them know about how to influence the minds of young people. Now they're coming out with Straight Outta Compton, and I promise you, it's going to start all back over again. Turning the gun sideways and killing niggas. They're after our babies. But it's all our fault. Death by entertainment. Now, Satan is all in the music, all in the images in his world, and he uses it as a tool to capture the soul of the ignorant. Now, I want to get back to something I said earlier that I know had you shook up. I said that Jesus was not God, and that is something we have to make undoubtedly clear to our children, undoubtedly clear to the grown-ups as well. Jesus is not God. Now, I know the statement would disturb a lot of you. It didn't disturb me when I found it out, because I love Jesus just the same. I understand his role in this thing. He is the example. He is the person to follow, because we are not worthy to see God face to face. But what does Jesus say in regards to his position and his relationship with God? Now, this Jesus talking, if we love the Bible. We're going to go into some scripture today, and we're going to see what Jesus said about it, so you don't say that crazy Muslim against the great Christianity. I'm with it all the way, as long as it's the truth. Listen to Jesus. In King James Bible, Mark 10:18, what he say? And Jesus said unto him, why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go to John 5:30. Jesus talking. I can of my own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge. And my judgment is just, because I seek not my own will, but the will of the Father which sent me. Jesus said that. Let's go to Matthew 24:36. No one knows about the day or the hour, not even the Son, but the Father only. What? John 5:2-26. John 5:26. For as the Father has life in himself, so he has granted the Son to have life in himself. God gave Jesus life. John 14:28. The Father is greater than I. That's Jesus talking. Matthew 6:9. Our Father, which art in heaven. Jesus telling them how to pray. He didn't say pray this way. He didn't say pray Jesus Christ, which art in heaven. He said pray our Father, which art in heaven. Matthew 27:46. My God, Jesus talking on the cross. Why hast thou forsaken me? He didn't say, Jesus, why did I forsake myself? As I said, Jesus is not God. Hebrew 1:3. The Son is the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of his being. And that's it. The Son is the radiance of God's glory. How did we put Jesus Christ at the beginning of the book? Jesus created the heavens and the earth. We're talking about invisible black. First, you got to kill God. First, you got to cut the head off. Then you could do anything you want to with a mindless individual because they don't know where to go or what to do. So they destroyed our image of God and gave us the image of Michelangelo's uncle, painted him into Jesus. But the Bible says he had hair like lamb's wool and feet like brass burned in the oven and fiery eyes, but we take the white guy. So in leaving God, we are in the desert. We're dying. Our children are dying. You see it. You're just so busy denying it that you're making excuses for it. I'm going to love him anyway. I don't care what he is. I love him too. But I care what they are. I care. When we surrender, put my face back up here for a minute. When we surrender, you see, I'm getting gray-headed. When we surrender and give up our will, God can use us. Jesus Christ was and is supposed to be an example of what we become. When our will fuses with God's will, he was not sent for us to worship. He was sent for us to use as an example of how to live in accordance to God's will. If we can submit to do that, then our will and God's will are the same. Now check out the King James Version of the Bible, John 10:30. Look at what Jesus said. I and my Father are one. How did we become one? We became one because I submitted to God's will, my Father, and I became a spiritual son of God, and I have a right to say that he is my Father. He taught me everything I know, everything that was recorded about the life of Jesus Christ and all of the prophets was based upon choices they made. Choices now. Choices. God never forced nobody to do much of anything, just choices. Some made choices that put them in a bad situation, but their life was still used to teach a lesson to everyone else. Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and all of these lives that are lost and taken away early by sacrifice of some satanic ritual or by the fact that they chose a route to go that was contrary to God. All of it is under God's divine control. And if we do not speak out with the confidence that Allah, God, or God by whatever name, as I said, he has 99 attributes to his name, I am, Elohim, El Shaddai. If we do not speak out and say we are backed by that, rather we live or die, then we can never prove to the people that God is who he say he is. So it's all about choices. The time has come to make a choice. Will we choose this world or the unseen promised land that God has promised for us? Not a promised land out of this world, not out in space. It's right here. It's right now. Many people on this earth, black, white, red, brown, and yellow, are already living a heavenly existence. I'm going to say that again. Many people on this earth, they, even if they're mixed up in their interbeing, if they say God made a mistake. I'm a man, but I'm supposed to be a girl. Even in that confusion, many people among us, black, white, red, brown, and yellow, are living a heavenly existence, working constantly to burn off the negative of self, to deny the ego of self, and become into a oneness with God. They are in heaven, are on their way, and it has nothing to do with the amassing of illusionary trinkets that this world says is heaven. It has nothing to do with attending church or synagogue or mosque every day. Heaven starts in the heart, mind, soul, and spirit of each individual. But unfortunately, hell starts in the same place at the same time. And this is the conflict between right and wrong that we all have to wrestle with day after day, hour after hour, moment after moment. We are talking about invisible black. And I am not just talking about homosexuals or black drug dealers or black thugs or black elitists who are not knowledgeable any longer of what's going on in the black community. I'm talking about the very soul of the individual. We got to get back to God as an individual and then collectively. Now check this out. Because God was going to kill Egypt as a collective. God was going to kill the children of Israel as a collective. That's what he said. All of them. Revelations 18 and 4. Let's go there for a minute. We're talking about invisible black, and honestly, we're moving along pretty good. Please stay tuned with us. And if you can't listen to it all, then come back later and we'll post up the links. And I pray sincerely that you find this information worthy of sharing. As I said before, it's my trial, because most of the time I don't even want to get on the air. I'm like, what is this for? Nobody's listening. Look at the videos on YouTube of people doing something foolish. I was watching the stats of Nicki Minaj's videos, and nothing goes under 11 million. And then I watched the stats of the Minister Farrakhan or TD Jakes, and they go up into the hundreds of thousands. And then I watch this, me, and I get 32 hits, 12 hits, 9 hits, but that's just the way it is. So I thank those who share this information. And I pray that we will continue to do it, because I'm telling you, I know where the information comes from, directly from God. And I'm telling you, if we don't act on it, things are going to happen. Changes are going to happen. Certainly the good comes before the bad. The good comes to contradict the messenger. So we say, let's stay. But the bad will come. And some people are born to see the bad. Not that I'm a negative person. If I were negative, I wouldn't continue to try. I'm not pessimistic. Very optimistic on the reality of God. Revelations 18 and 4. I put it up there so you can read over it. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. This is in the last book, the final cry to the children of Israel to come out before the destruction. But most of your ministers, they ain't going into that. That's too heavy. They're going to stay in Proverbs, because Proverbs you can take one way or another. You can make an allegory one way or another. See? So people stay up in Proverbs and Matthew and John and Luke, places where they can make things sound like what they want it to be. But Revelations, that's a whole nother cup of tea. Check this out in the King James Version, Jeremiah 51:45. My people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Lord. We are after the soul. We're talking about the soul today. And we're not talking about the soul of rhythm that makes you dance like James Brown and Michael Jackson. We're talking about the soul that connects the two energies, God and man. Why are we being warned throughout the Bible to flee? Not from the country, not yet, but from conforming to the ways of this world, conforming to the lies, conforming to the wickedness, the whispering of the accursed devil. That same snake that convinced the allegorical Eve that God was jealous of her. Because Eve, check this out, Eve is in each individual, that part of us that always wondering what's on the other side of the hill, that part of us who always want to test God's knowledge, that part of us who always want to prove that we right and somebody else is wrong, that part of us that's curious like the cat, let me see how this works. That's us. But let's see what it says in Romans. We're going into Romans 12:1 and 2. We're talking about invisible black. We're still on the same topic. Nothing changed. Romans 12:1 and 2. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercy of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Just reasonable service. God ain't asking too much from us, just reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God. See, the mind has to be renewed. So God said with the children of Israel, all of the old ones got to die, because I want a brand new mind that appreciates what I'm doing for them. God says that, but check this out. Satan says, I will not allow the new ones to come. I'm going to keep them entertained. I'm going to give them new drugs to make them think they're in heaven. I'm going to feed them an image of something they can achieve that they never will achieve. I'm going to make great superstars in the sports field. I'm going to show them Real Housewives. I'm going to show them the preachers of L.A. And I'm going to show them the elitist attitude that they can never achieve because they can't choose us. We choose them. And I'm going to have them dreaming for the rest of their life. And they're going to deny their blackness for a place with me. Now, we are talking about invisible black, destroyed by a lack of knowledge and entertained to death. This is Brother Johnny of Groove 19 Promotions, again out of Manning, South Carolina. If you like what you hear, not like so much, but if it is proving itself to be worthy of listening to, I pray that you will share this information and then share it again. Now we're going to go into something, and pretty soon we're going to close right on out. Now I want to show you a few ways in which Satan is using black people to erase blackness and downplay the black struggle right out of existence. Now, many of you may have already seen the clip of Steve Harvey entertaining the question from a Caucasian woman about how to deal with questions or comments about ethnic situations, particularly black people. She asked the question and seemed to be as if though Steve Harvey went overboard with the answer, trying to prove his neutrality when it came to issues of race. The dangers of the statements he made is that he is black, he is a celebrity, and he has influence over the thoughts of millions of people. And the most dangerous part about his statement is that he is a comedian, and entertainment has been proven to be the most effective way of controlling masses of people, with the exception of killing them. So as I played in the first part of Invisible Black, Zbigniew Brzezinski said it was, at one time it was easy to influence 1 million people, but now it is easier to kill 1 million. But it is still easy to influence the minds of black people in our ignorance and our desire to be something that we are not. Now I'm going to show you a couple of clips. I'm going to show you this Russell Simmons clip where he degraded the image of the great Harriet Tubman as a prostitute who used sex to control white people. And this is what our children are looking at day in and day out on YouTube. And they're making all of this stuff available to them. And you and I in the church shouting and playing music and falling out, flipping over, rolling over, and talking about Jesus got it because we are too cowardly to fight. See? And God is saying, since you're such a coward, you die in the desert then. Not only will you die, but I'm going to allow you to see your children suffer for 40 more years. And we are too blind to the knowledge of the times and what has to be done that we don't even realize our children are suffering, miserable. They got everything that we took us years to achieve. They're getting it all by the time they're 20 and 30 and realizing that they're not happy. What's going to happen next? They got to do some more foolishness in order to get high. So they got the good job, the good school, the good degree, the good whatever, but they're constantly looking for a new high. That's on us. That's on you 50 and 60-year-olds. And it's on us, 40 up, 40 down. And I'm going to show you a clip of Barbershop where Cedric the Entertainer talks about Rosa Parks and how she didn't do anything. Rodney King should have been beaten. And he said, F Jesse Jackson. And finally, I want to show you the next major move of the psychological warfare on young black boys, as I mentioned it earlier. And this is the clip from the upcoming, highly anticipated Straight Outta Compton. I'm not going to show the clip, but I just want to point it out. All of these visual images, along with covert attacks in the gospel industry. So you don't know the filth of gospel singers. You don't know. And it's not for me to point out because I don't want nobody to say I'm judging nobody because I'm filthy too. But I can use discernment because Jesus said earlier, I read to you, he said, all of my judgments are just. And I'm telling you, when I'm reading what I've been commissioned to write by God's permission, my judgments are just. And I told you earlier, when I'm talking off of the teleprompter and I'm talking to you, I'm talking to me. So when I say there's filth among the industry, then there's filth among me. See, you can't lie about that with God. I don't care if you close the door and look at pornography, it's still filth. I don't care if you lust after a woman in your heart but don't rape her, it's still filth. Because Jesus said, as a man think. See, I believe Jesus said that. Don't quote me. Now, all of these visual images, along with covert attacks in the gospel industry, on presumably harmless channels like Disney, Lifetime, and Oxygen. And I want to show you a clip of a show that's coming on the Oxygen channel soon and let you be the judge of what's happening, which will be airing in a new show about gay black males who were kicked out of college, I think, and are now superstars all over. This is entertaining to us, but it is brainwashing our children. Satan is using levity to destroy us. And we are so busy laughing, we don't even have sense enough to get angry. Now, I want to go into these clips. The first one will be, I think we want to start with Steve Harvey and what he said about slavery. I think this is it. I'm hoping so. No, yes, here we go. Here we go. Steve Harvey and what he said about slavery.
And she has a question for you about some kind of social awkward moments. I'll let her explain.
Hi, Steve.
Hi.
So Greensboro has a lot of museums, but it has even more American history buffs. Problem is, I'm not one. Whenever I'm in circles of people talking about history, my eyes get wide and I panic. I pray that no one will ask me about historical topics. So what I do is I just avoid eye contact and I head straight to the bar. But I need a better strategy. What should I do if I find myself in a...
Now, I want to pause right there for a minute. I want you to listen to this lady and you look at her eyes and you can see that she is reading off of a teleprompter or something maybe underneath the camera. Her words are like a mechanical. She's reading it. So this is scripted stuff, and it's designed for a reason. You understand what I'm saying? And she never said anything about blackness. She said historical. But watch where Steve Harvey takes it, and watch how many people love Steve Harvey, and watch the crowd just get enthusiastic about what he's saying and not listen to all that he's saying. But in actuality, he just brainwashed everyone that was watching and everyone in the audience to forget about slavery. Now, check this out.
Conversation with a history buff that goes over my head.
I want you to look right at the person and do this right here. They ask you something about the past. You say, I don't really care for slavery.
Now, she, as far as I heard, she didn't say anything necessarily about slavery. She said history. He brought up the slavery. And watch how far he goes with the slavery. I'm trying to show you how leaving our children alone, I don't care if they are an adult, they got child minds. When you don't break things down, how Satan gets into the mind, just as he did in the Garden of Eden. Check this out.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Yes. Oh my God. Oh, yeah.
It works every damn time. That's what I do when I'm sitting around a bunch of socialites and they start talking about the past and stuff. That's my line. I just say it and walk off. I have my little drink in my hand. I just say it and walk off. I don't really care for slavery and walk off and leave them sitting. I don't give a damn if they talking about Christopher Columbus. I don't give a damn if they talking about a treaty. I don't give a damn about an amendment, a bill. I don't care what the subject is. It could be prohibition. I don't care what the subject is. When you get through saying it, and I don't know what the hell you talking about, my favorite line is, I don't give a damn about slavery, and walk off.
See? I don't care if it's prohibition. I don't care if it's Christopher Columbus. I don't care what it is. But then he nails it down at the end of that. Levity, entertainment. I don't give a damn about slavery. I'm going to play that little piece again because I want you to see how this thing works, how it works.
My favorite line is, I don't give a damn about slavery, and walk off.
And everyone in the audience is applauding and smiling and laughing because of the way it was put. I'm talking about Invisible Black. I don't give a damn about slavery during Black History Month. Now I want to take you to the clip of Cedric the Entertainer.
Now, I probably wouldn't say this
in Barbershop 2. And I want you to see how entertainment influences the mind of the young people. Because as you can see, the young, they come from the back on the camera. And at the back of the camera, you can see a guy with a shirt on, Supreme. So he's supposed to be the knowledgeable, 5%er. And he's a younger dude. But look at what is being said in the barbershop. Check this out.
Now, I probably wouldn't say this in front of white folk, but in front of y'all, I'm gonna speak my mind. Rosa Parks ain't do nothing but sit her black ass down. Hold on now, Seinfeld. You might learn something right now. I'm gonna give her a just due. I'm gonna give her a just due for what she did. Her act led to the movement and everything. But she damn sure ain't special. No, it was a whole lot of black folk sat down on bus and they got thrown in jail, and they did it way before Rosa did. And they did it way before Rosa. Only difference between them and her is that she was secretary at the NAACP, and she know Martin Luther King, and they got a lot of publicity.
That's all not to say what. To me, it sounds like you got a little haterism in your game.
Well, Kevin, no, this ain't no hateration or no holleration in this dancery, okay? What I'm saying is that black people need to stop lying.
Say something.
There's three things that black people need to tell the truth about.
What?
One, Rodney King should have got his ass beat for driving drunk and being grown in a Hyundai. Two, OJ did it. And three, Rosa Parks ain't do nothing but sit her black ass down. That's right, I said it.
Hey, I'm gonna back you up on that, because see, look, he was on the bus back in the day, and he on the bus now.
Eddie, not only is what you're saying not true, it is wrong and disrespectful for you to discuss Rosa Parks in that way.
Exactly.
Wait. Hold on here. Is this the barbershop? Is this the barbershop?
Yes, it's the shop.
It's the barbershop. Wait, I mean, we can't talk straight in the barbershop. Then where can we talk straight? We can't talk straight nowhere else. This ain't nothing but healthy conversation. That's all.
You gotta tell Rosa Parks down.
It ain't nobody exempt in the barbershop. You know that. Ain't nobody exempt. You can talk about whoever and whatever, whenever you want to in the barbershop.
Why you gotta tell Rosa down like this, Eddie? You know you're wrong. Keep on walking. You wrong. You walking by yourself this time, pal. I ain't with you. I'll tell you one thing. You better never let Jesse Jackson hear you talking about that.
Man, fuck Jesse Jackson.
There you have it. See, this is what our children are watching. He tore down the major thing. What happened? We're talking about Invisible Black. The major thing that happened in that clip is he said Rodney King deserved to be beat. Any grown man driving drunk in a Hyundai. So that means that every black man that is beaten or murdered deserves it. In the minds of our young people. So they're after the soul of our young people through entertainment. And you saw, I pointed out the guy that had on the red shirt and Supreme on the back. And the number 7 represents the God number. And he is just as dumb as a brick. So they are killing a lot of the greatness right here. And then he got Jesse Jackson on the wall back there in the back, if you can look and you see. Right there. Now I want to take you into this clip of, let's go into what Russell Simmons. Now, everybody wanted to be on Def Jam. In fact, I was accepted on Profile, which was a part of the Def Jam label with Rick Rubin, and they started out as Profile, and then they became Profile Def Jam. But while they were Profile, I was trying to move forward with my rap career. At that time, I was, the positive guy rapper, and they accepted my offer. And I still have the contract here where I didn't get to go any further, but I did get the offer. But Def Jam, I would hate to think of what I would be today at this point had I taken the deal, because I would be so eager to please. I just really hate to think about what it would be like. But I want you to see, this is Russell Simmons now. The young people love him. I told you they're using the older people to control the minds of the younger people, because they put these people on a pedestal, and now these people have the power to influence minds all over the world. I'm only going to show a little piece of this, and the gentleman that is talking is, he has a video on YouTube. If you don't like the way his voice is, just listen to what is being said for the first part of it. But this is the great Harriet Tubman. Now, remember, Harriet Tubman was slim. And Harriet Tubman, I want to give you a little bit of her history. She was never born to be a slave, as none of us are, but some of us accept it better than others. And at a young age, the age of 12, Harriet Tubman was asked by a slave owner to help him subdue one of his slaves, and she refused. And he took a heavy piece of steel, and hit Harriet Tubman in the head with that weight. And as a result of hitting her with that weight, she suffered from seizures and headaches, migraines all of her life. As well as telling the story of the hateful white man who had her as a slave, that he would wake up on the wrong side of the bed in the morning and beat her 10 times before breakfast. And the beatings that we received were lashes. And she had the scars on her face to prove it. And she was the engineer behind the Underground Railroad, and she saved over 1,000 slaves and brought them to the North. And she made the statement that I could have saved thousands more. I think she saved 300, but she said I could have saved thousands more if only they knew they were slaves. See? And Russell Simmons chooses to take this great woman and make a parody out of her life. She is a whore now, sleeping with the white man, and got a slave in the closet videotaping her. And not only does he do that, but he makes her out to look like a mammy, a big black woman, when Harriet Tubman was slim. We're talking about invisible black now, and we're talking about how these people in positions of power, this new black elite, are destroying the minds of our young people and turning them every which way but loose. And we steady singing and dancing. And they are in the music industry, from gospel all the way to hip hop, all the way to everything else. Look at this. Pay attention to what you see and what you hear. Russell Simmons.
The world is learning a lesson in how white supremacy works. Since the election of Barack Obama, everyone has been seeing it as necessary to declare what they really think about black people. And what we're learning is that the dawn of the 21st century has witnessed more prominent black people declaring their undying hatred of everything black. The biggest white supremacist isn't always the Klansman down the street. Sometimes it's the black man standing right next to you who can't stand being who and what he is. And now, Russell Simmons has taken black hatred to a blasphemous level. In his twisted psyche, he puts out what he calls a joke. He has some low-level wannabe comedians do a skit that he calls the Harriet Tubman sex tape. In it, a woman portraying Harriet Tubman conspires with a male slave to secretly record Tubman having sex with her white slave master so they can blackmail him into building the Underground Railroad. The video actually shows the woman portraying Tubman having sex in multiple positions with the slave master, including a short clip of the Tubman imposter penetrating the slave master from the rear. I'm not going into detail to be salacious. I'm doing it to put the video in its proper context, because Simmons claims that portraying Harriet Tubman doing these disgusting things qualified as a joke.
Russell Simmons depicting the life of the great Harriet Tubman as a joke, and getting major hits on YouTube and destroying our children. And it hurts me right this minute because I honestly feel like we don't give a damn. We could care less because the statements that we are just fun but that Russell Simmons though. We are turning against God and loving the world and convincing ourselves that we love God. But the God that this world made is an illusion. And the God that he's feeding us is an illusion. And people are being raised to tell the world that it's an illusion, no matter what. And not only tell it, but prove it. Now, I want to take you into this man. This man, this is the great, and I mean great. I don't mean it as a pun. This is Lee Daniels, the butler, Precious. He's a friend of Oprah Winfrey. And he is the producer of the new hot show on television. I don't know if it's on Fox or whatever. Empire. Lee Daniels. Lee Daniels, who talks about how he was a homosexual and he knew he was a homosexual at the age of 4. And he came downstairs with his mother's heels on and his father didn't dig it too much. And that particular part of his real life, he put into the show Empire. That's when what is the guy name? Terrence, whatever his name is, put the baby in the trash can. Lee Daniels said his father put him in the trash can. Now, Lee Daniels could be a great advocate for the rights of homosexuals, but they don't need no more advocates. They got what these people are taking over. And I say these people because they have separated themselves, but I want to point something out to you. Lee Daniels, great mind, excellent producer. That is his lover, his husband, his a wife, one or the other that I'm showing you right now. He talks about how great the sex is between them. And our children are listening to this. And he talks about his intentions of making Empire. That he was going to expose homophobia for what it really is. And that is going to make the people, black people, afraid now to speak out against that. So when your child comes home deciding they want to be gay, you ain't going to even protest it because it's going to become a law that you can't protest nothing. See, we are talking about invisible black, and I'm showing you the different angles Satan is coming from to destroy us. And I'm telling you, we're almost dead. But when the black man dies, God is going to come and destroy it all. Empire. I had a associate of mine and he is a pastor. He is a pastor. And he told his father, to look at Empire. It's a good show. So the pastors are saying it's all right. And see, when your mind loves entertainment, you will know something wrong and can't turn away from it. And that's fine if you want to look at it with yourself. But the least you can do is use discernment and say this is wrong, this is right. But look at the caption: music, family, power, the battle begins. Now, every black person has given up their position as a student in college because they want to be a rapper. So automatically music got them. The old folks trying to understand family, so family got them. The 40s and 45-year-olds want power, so power got them. But then it's the battle begins. See, this is no different than Dallas. You know, the old Dallas where the family was again. This is no different than the stories of today. We're talking about invisible black, entertained to death. Lee Daniels has a agenda. He is going to make women into whores in the eyes of people. And Tasha, I can't remember her name, but she's such a beautiful woman. She plays the role so well. And the other night she had on her garter belt with her behind out, and somebody snapped a picture of it. And even Wendy Williams asking, is that really her behind? And she said, this is all me. So ass and gay and filth wickedness, all of this is being promoted, and it's going to be the top show. This is going to take the place of Scandal, because Scandal just don't have it no more. Every filthy thing could be done is done. But I'm telling you, this show is starting on such a filthy note. It cannot go downhill. It got to go further up into filth. No different than Being Mary Jane. And you down there seeing naked bodies all over the place and children. You think you looking at a show with your child, and the next thing you know, somebody having sex, so much so that they know exactly what's going on. But yeah, that's Gabrielle Union though, man. Come on, man. Beautiful woman. Great actress. But come on, man. Wrong is wrong. When I hustled, wrong was wrong. I never asked God for protection. He protected me, but I never asked because I was wrong. We're talking about Invisible Black, and the last thing I want to show you is a new show that will be coming on Oxygen, the Oxygen channel. And this is called The Prancing Elite. And it is a group of homosexuals who go around dancing. But I want you to see how they flash on every single face, and everybody is accepting of and the truth of the matter is they can't dance. But check this out.
Do your thing, do your thing, come on. Do your thing, do your thing, come on. Do your thing, do your thing, come on. Do your thing, do your thing.
Now, these are men. Look at that. Just dance. Just be entertained. Have a good time. Nobody planned their takeover better than the homosexual agenda. They know that visual and audio and spiritual and everything else is the key. But here's the thing about all of this planning. It is again going to separate people. It's black, separating black. See, I don't have a problem with homosexuals. I really don't. Not at all. Your life is your life. But what I have a problem with is influencing other children to be something that they're not because you think your way is right. So you are in actuality like a mafia. You're going to accept what we are. We're going to kick down the door and kill everybody. There is a mayor in a town. I can't remember. Look it up. She subpoenaed the sermons of the ministers of that town because she is a lesbian, and she want to make sure that none of them are talking down about homosexuality. See that's strong arm. See, that's an agenda. But why? It's taking the place of blackness. Gay is the new black. And they're using entertainment, entertainers, and levity. LL just did a song maybe last year or this year where he forgiving everybody for slavery. And as while he's on TV playing this grown-up, intelligent police officer or agent, on YouTube, he's still making rap videos like he's 10 or 15 years old with his pants leg rolled up, and he's rapping with Meek Mills and them in the hood, talking about killing everybody and got all the money. And I even seen a video recently with MC Lyte talking about balling. And that was heartbreaking. But that's what they're using. They're using the older to attack our children and make our children think that we're stupid. And as I was pointing out to my son the other day, we're talking about Invisible Black, and we're getting ready to close in a minute. As I pointed out to my son the other day, he was looking at a Disney show called Pants on Fire. And it did have a good meaning in it. But I was pointing out to him how Disney makes the parent look stupid, ignorant, and the child can always get over on the parent. And while you're being entertained, you're thinking in your mind that you are better than your parents. And you can trick and lie to them and get away with whatever you want to get away with until you come home with babies. So I was pointing that, ignorant. And I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was pointing out to me how in Family Guy, I looked at this show for years, that they are introducing bestiality to the world because the dog is always in a relationship with a girl. Then I saw a white woman on the internet just last week talking about how she loves making love with canines. So after gay, either it's going to be, I want to marry my sister, let me do it because I got a freedom and a right, and we ain't going to speak out against that because incest is legal in South Carolina to a degree. And after that, it's going to be people saying I should have a legal right to have sex with my animals because there is somebody on the internet right now, type it into the Google, a man wants to marry his dog, a woman wants to marry her dog or something like that. In Africa, 2 black women were just arrested last year for shooting a video where they were having sex with a dog. In China is happening. I'm telling you, it's going to get filthier and filthier. We're talking about Invisible Black right out of existence. I want to read these 2 passages, and then we're going to close. I didn't get to finish, but I don't want to go any further. And this will be, by God's permission, the last time we talk about Invisible Black. And unfortunately, I didn't get to finish, but I want to read these and maybe one more, and then we're going to close with that. I want you to go into Ephesians 5, 4 through 6, the King James Version of the Bible. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor gesturing, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this ye know, that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man, who is an idolater, hath any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. See, two different people, Christ and God. Okay? But it's talking about the people who have no place in that. Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. And our children are the children of disobedience because the world wants to destroy the young black male and black female because you all are the chosen of God. But you are refusing to take your position and come up out of this world. The one thing I tried to convince my sons not to do is to get hooked on any kind of narcotic or a drug or cigarettes because that is in my bloodline. And I saw my mother and my father, I saw them one way 1 minute and totally vicious the next because they didn't have liquor, they didn't have cigarettes or whatever else they were doing at the time. And I wanted to keep my sons away from that. But every single one of them picked up a habit. And I knew it was going to be difficult on them. My brother died from alcoholism, and my brother was a great man. Worked all of his life, very intelligent, built up that American dream, and lost it all because of that addiction. And now I have children that are addicted. And this is saying, don't be deceived. See? So when I'm talking, I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to me. I don't have no perfect life. But I chose to stay away from drugs because I knew if I did it, I would do it to death. And anyone with a creative spirit is going to overdo it. Now let's go into Hosea 4 and 6 of the King James Version of the Bible. Hosea. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, listen to God, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget you. So we are on the path of being forgotten by God. And if we don't turn around and come back to the understanding of true God understanding, we are going to be consumed by the Satan of this world. We're talking about Invisible Black now. And we're talking about the time that we live, and we're talking about the fact that we are being consumed by our own ignorance. Now, I want to go into this, and this is the final reading for today. And I thank everyone for listening. But listen to Colossians 1, 15 through 29, and then we're going to close. Colossians 15 through 29. Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature? See? Who is the image of the invisible God? You can't see him, but he's there. But you and I always want to see the image of it. Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature? Or by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible? Whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him. Understand that. God created the devil, but God created Satan for a reason. Now, you all want to put Satan on a level of his own, but Satan would not exist without God, and Satan asked God permission. God allowed Satan in the Garden of Eden. All things were created for God's purpose. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from not the ones living, but the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. For it pleases the Father that in him should all fullness dwell. And having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself. By him, I say, whether they be things in earth or things in heaven. And you that were sometimes alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, ye now hath he reconciled. So God is here to forgive us. In the body of his flesh through death, to present you holy and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight, if you continue in the faith grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which you have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I, Paul, am made a minister, who now rejoice in my suffering for you, rejoicing in suffering for the truth, and fill up that which is behind of the afflictions of Christ in my flesh for his body's sake, which is the church. Why is Christ's body the church? Because Christ was supposed to be what Christ is an example of how we are supposed to be if we want to become one with God. But we have hijacked the church and made it an example of what we are not supposed to be, yet we put God's name on it. Where is all the filth coming from? If you want to freak, where do you go? Whereof I am made a minister according to the dispensation of God, which is given to me for you to fulfill the words of God, even the mystery which hath been hid from ages and from generations. See, that mystery that was hidden, God is revealing the mystery. You want to be a part of a secret society? Go into your Bible, into your Quran, into your closet, into yourself, and ask God what is, what was, and what will be, and what is your position in it, and wait on the Lord and see what happens. If we can't test God and prove that he is stronger than the world, then we might as well bow down and submit and do what everybody else is doing. See? God hid himself for ages from generations, but now is made manifest to his saints, to whom God would make no. So when you're talking about a saint, you're not talking about somebody who just wears saintly clothes. You're talking about someone who understands God and who is willing to risk their life to tell the truth about who God is, what God is, and why God is. To whom God would make known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Now, earlier I said that riches does not qualify. You don't judge God's richness over this world and what it can give you. God's richness is based on how you treat yourself and how he reveals himself to your soul and how you talk to others about this great one, how you understand. So there is no inequality in God. The gay, the lesbian, the homosexual, the black, the white, the red, the brown, the yellow, all in the same level of equality with God. But all of us have impediments that we have to get rid of. So God says, come as you are, but you can't stay that way. But the people are saying, not only am I coming as I am, I'm staying this way. whom we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom, that we may present every man perfect in Christ Jesus. Whereunto I also labor, striving according to his work, which worketh in me mightily. Again, I thank everyone for tuning in to this installment of the 19 Report. As promised, we were really going to bring some thought-provoking information today, and I think by God's permission we were successful in doing that. And I hope that you will continue to share this information. And if you have any questions or comments, just leave them on the site. Again, I'm not concerned about debating or arguing. I'm not even getting into that. Whatever you are is what you are. Whatever you want to be, you want to be. Homosexuality is going to be. There's no way to stop it. It's there. Black-white relationships is going to be. There's no way to stop it. It's there. And it's only going to get worse as we go along. We're all going to get lost in our desires. That is the plan of Satan. And he's going to separate us and kill everybody. But God says, follow me, or I'm going to do the killing. This is Brother Johnny, Groove 19 Promotions, Manning, South Carolina.